13 years ago, Microsoft launched the Xbox 360 on this day, November 22nd. Today, I will be looking at its best exclusive titles. Now, some of these titles were remastered later down the road on different platforms, but when these titles initially released, it really left an impact on me. And those effects still hold weight even today. Grab a beer, some snacks, or even some coffee, because this is a long video. When I got my Xbox 360 summer of 2006, it was an unreal experience. Not my first outing with Microsoft as a console maker, I owned an original Xbox, but never tried this standout feature, Xbox Live. I didn't have the means for online play yet. When I opened up my 360, first thing I did was hook up that Ethernet cable. Holy crap, did my life change. Alright, maybe I'm exaggerating a bit, but gaming was never the same from that point on. Next-gen consoles was a term I haven't heard until the 360 era. I always read about 32-bit, 64-bit that, and even 128-bit. Next-gen had more than a ring to it. It had an oomph, and boy did that oomph deliver. I downloaded demos like Prey, themes for Street Fighter 2 Hyper Fighting, arcade games such as Smash TV. That alone blew me away. But when my dad bought me Elder Scrolls, Oblivion, and Burnout Revenge, I wasn't ready. Can you blame me? I came from playing PS2 hooked up via component cables to a 32-inch Proton 1080i HD TV. Imagine the contrast between those. One game stood out later that fall of '06. Dead Rising. Dead Rising 1 is the best in this ongoing series. We're at 4, and while 2 and up probably play better, the original has more charm and hardcore mechanics going on, which stand out even today. Most impressive part of Dead Rising is how many zombies are on screen at the same time. It's insane. At the time, nothing could compare, especially at this level of detail. Taking the role of Frank West, the ultimate goal is to uncover a mystery being masked by the government. Frank enters a town blocking anyone from entering or exiting. To get the scoop, he's dropped off into Wilmette Mall by a helicopter pilot, telling him to return in 72 hours. Yeah, and everything goes to crap. Prepare for a long 72 hours. Starting off barely skilled enough to evade even a few zombies, Frank eventually pulls off dropkicks, DDTs, firing Mega Busters, running hundreds over in a car. The madness is pure madness. It's best played without any knowledge because Dead Rising is pretty much a roguelike game. If you never played an entry in the series, play this one. Whenever asked what my favorite shooters were during my youth, the answer isn't what you expect. Growing up throughout the 90s, I played a lot of shoot 'em ups like R-Type, Polestar, Viewpoint, even Run and Gunners. So naturally my answer would be Metal Slug. Classics like Quake, Unreal, Doom didn't exist to me. Not because I wasn't interested, just lacked the exposure to them. Hell, I didn't even know what FPS meant. As the genre started to become a thing on home consoles, I dabbled a bit with stuff on PS1. If I were to name a standout title, that crown definitely goes to Duke Nukem Total Meltdown, aka Duke Nukem 3D. Here on YouTube, I've heard many bash this port for being inferior, but in hindsight, the PS1 port was pretty great, considering I didn't even know where it originated from. So it may not be the best version, still, it did a solid job keeping the Duke Nukem 3D experience intact. Nowadays, I'll just boot up Duke Nukem 3D's 20th anniversary for that babe rescuing action, the definitive Duke Nukem 3D package. While 3D Realms developed Duke Nukem 3D, they also produced a personal favorite on 360. Prey. Please don't be confused with Prey 2017, a game that, although shares the same name and genre, is nothing like the superior 2006 gem. Prey is the tale of a modern day Cherokee named Tommy. He has a short fuse and gives zero craps about tradition. After nearly killing some dude with a wrench, no lie, an unexpected alien abduction occurs. Graphically, it did more than impress. I remember playing Prey through a demo on Xbox Live Marketplace, but before that I had never heard of it. Sitting through the opening segment, I was in shock. The brutality freaked me out. You hear screams from other victims and the backdrop makes it worse. Space! You know the saying, no one can hear you scream in space? Yeah, that's true here. After breaking free, the goal is to rescue your girlfriend, then head back home. Sounds goofy, but there's some moving moments, especially towards the end. Tommy's commentary during shootouts can get quite colorful as he yells out tons of profanity towards aliens. You feel his hatred. Alright, gameplay wise, this isn't going to win any awards, and probably didn't. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. You pick up alien weaponry and shoot anything in sight. Some standout mechanics are portals you can walk in and out of. It's not portals levels of deep, but visually walking through them was eye candy in 06. Then there's walking along walls. If you get motion sickness playing in first person perspectives, then stay away. Prey is an example of old school shooters done right. It's unique enough to suck you in with solid mechanics to keep you entertained until the credits roll. A direct sequel was supposed to be released, but Bethesda canned it. If you can try seeking out the original 2006 title, enjoy it.
Yes! Let's see how you fuckers like it.
From my experience, anytime Shadowrun is talked about, people usually refer to the Super Nintendo and Genesis titles. The tabletop games are rarely mentioned. I'm sure there's hardcore communities playing them today, but in this community, the gaming community, for some odd reason, tabletop discussions are led by Dungeons & Dragons. I wonder why that is. Does Dungeons & Dragons have better role-playing possibilities? Is it the setting or theme? Maybe it's just easier to jump into high fantasy setting over what Shadowrun offers. Shadowrun is fantasy, sure, just layered with cyberpunk and other unusual influences, resulting in a creation far removed from your typical swords and sorcery. Some can argue at first glance it appears to be a product of its time with outdated futuristic ideas, but it definitely looks rad. As console RPGs, the SNES and Genesis titles capture Shadowrun's world perfectly. In 2007, Microsoft decided to give the universe a shot. Simply titled Shadowrun, it delivers a vastly different experience compared to the 16-bit RPGs. Oh boy, did a bunch of backlash for shifting genres occur. Shadowrun on Xbox 360 is a competitive first-person shooter. As a player, your goal can vary in a multitude of game modes, but all modes have one thing in common: kill other players and win. Before getting into the fray, you're able to select out of 4 races: trolls, human, elves, and dwarves. Every race has strengths and weaknesses. Like the troll, my favorite, has the highest amount of hit points, but out of the 4 races moves slower than everyone. A defensive ability triggers as it takes damage, negatively impacting speed even further, but it increases its armor until dropping dead. Elves are fast and can auto-regenerate. Depending on your playstyle, you can find a race that fits your needs. I'm pretty reckless and don't like to die fast if I'm caught off guard, so more health and defense is what I'll always go for. As for weapons, Shadowrun has the usual assortment of guns: submachine guns, SMGs, sniper rifles, shotguns. Where it gets interesting is how the selection can better suit a particular race. Miniguns might serve a better role in the hands of a troll, where it can stand its ground firing a crap ton of rounds fearlessly thanks to its high defense. Then everyone's favorite, the katana. A troll hacking away can kill targets with just a couple of slashes, but an elf is faster when wielding the blade. So does dodging and moving quickly around your opponent take priority, or do you take your chances of delivering a kill after 2 hits with the troll? Mixing and matching is part of the game. Magic plays a role in combat too. The tree of life can be planted, healing everyone who stands near it, friend or foe. Teleporting can get you to an objective faster, and summoning familiars can really lend a hand. Like I said before, mixing and matching is key to obtaining that W. I'm not even gonna get into techs, which further incentivizes experimenting with builds. What everyone remembers of Shadowrun 2007 is its crossplay. Xbox 360 owners can finally shut PC players up once and for all. Okay, maybe not, but the field always felt even. One platform never overpowered another. It sucks that the game didn't really get any positive attention because I find it to be an underrated gem. I'm not sure if you can find any online matches today, but this is one online only experience I won't be forgetting. I grew up playing a lot of PS1. By PS1 I mean PlayStation. Classics like Crash Bandicoot, Tomb Raider 2, Street Fighter Alpha, and Tenchu were my jam. Oh man, Tenchu, I miss you so much. Aside from Samurai Showdown's Garford and Hanzo, it's one of the reasons I fell in love with ninjas. I consider Tenchu Stealth Assassins to be one of the greatest PlayStation 1 games of all time. If you enjoyed this video, check out my top 20 PS1 games video. Anyway, what's not to like about stalking someone from the shadows, then stabbing them in the back? So damn satisfying. It's one of those stealth series where playing stealthy is essential to surviving. After Tenchu's first 2 entries on PS1, sequels made their way to a good number of consoles: PS2, Xbox, PSP, Wii, DS. But today, I want to talk about the Xbox 360 underrated gem, Tenchu Z. Don't confuse Z with 08's live arcade game. This is through and through classic Tenchu. By that, I mean it lines up more with the first entry than the later sequels. Instead of taking the role of Rikimaru or Yame, you're the ninja. Yup, character creation. What's so cool about this take is how deep it is. Purchasing and unlocking gear allows each ninja to look and play unique. If you've never played Tenchu, Tenchu Z has you sneaking around feudal Japan, assassinating corrupt leaders. You can play alone or bring along 3 friends thanks to Xbox Live. With 50 missions taking place in large-scaled maps, acting like sandboxes, Tenchu Z never feels too large for single-player runs or cramped in co-op. I personally played in single-player for most of my runs. Don't expect an action-packed game here. Tenchu Z is best played in the shadows, studying enemy routes, then eliminating them all. I won't lie, the graphics aren't very impressive today, and unfortunately, that also applied in 2007. Visually, the highlight is seeing the many executions. Kills are a joy to pull off. Whether it's a guard getting it from behind a panel door, or performing a multi-stealth kill on a couple of idiots slacking on duty, it's fun to see the flies drop. Please check this out. Sadly, it's only playable on Xbox 360 with no Xbox One support yet as of this recording. Either way, if you haven't tried it out, it's worth picking up. Cave, a legendary developer responsible for some of the best shoot-'em-ups never released in United States. Dodonpachi Daioju, Ketsui, Mushihime-sama, ESP Galuda 2, all wonderful entries in the genre every fan should check out. Towards the end of 360's lifecycle, Axis brought over one of Cave's best. One that reminds me of a PC Engine classic named Cotton Fantastic Dream Nights. For the time, Cotton was best known for a strong occult theme. Witches, undead, haunted forests. Cave took that and injected 10 tons of acid into it. Death Smiles, a side-scrolling shoot-'em-up or shmup showcasing insane occult and gothic influence. Back in 2010 when Axis published it, they packaged it beautifully with a full-colored manual, bonus soundtrack, and an awesome faceplate. Oh, and let me not forget this weird long box. Death Smiles is simple. Shoot everything on sight while enjoying some awesome music. There's 5 selectable characters, each equipped with different shot patterns, but no matter which one of these lovely ladies you choose, bullet heaven awaits. Each can shoot forward and backwards to deal with anything surrounding you. Grabbing power-ups will increase your damage output, visually indicated by the widened shot range. As stages are cleared, difficulty rises to what seems unmanageable at first, then you'll find yourself dodging bullet hell like a pro. Bosses are bananas. All I have to show is this. A freaking cow. Playing through Death Smiles can be done in under an hour. Relax, this is a horizontal shooter. Replay value comes directly from stacking up higher scores, but the ultimate goal is clearing the game with one continue. Add to the mix higher difficulties, multiple modes that alter its already deep mechanics, a 2-player co-op, and you're left with a meaty arcade experience. Can't get enough? Consider Death Smiles as a gateway to Xbox 360's best scene. Check out many of Cave's region-free Japanese imports: Dodonpachi Daioju, Mushihime-sama Futari, and ESP Galuda 2. Additionally, if importing is too daunting, Rising Star Games brought over a Kai Katana, a Dodonpachi Resurrection. Crackdown, a time where open world games weren't as common as today. It was said to be from the creators of GTA. focusing more on chaos by putting players in the role of agents, superpowered beings that protect Pacific City from crime that runs rampant. Publications such as Electronic Gaming Monthly, GameFan, and GamePro weren't the go-to place for game previews anymore, mostly because they didn't exist. Just one stood in this new era of gaming, where the internet grew bigger and faster each day: Game Informer. Everyone I knew had a subscription thanks to GameStop's popularity with trade-ins. Seeing Crackdown there excited me. Again, it was supposed to be Grand Theft Auto with superpowers. A timed demo eventually dropped and my purchase was set in stone. Cooperative play, a huge city to explore, tons of weapons to use against hordes of enemies. As an agent, your duty is to kill the kingpin of each gang, either by picking out its general or saying screw it and taking them head on. Going straight for a kingpin is dangerous as bodyguards are armed to the teeth. Alternatively, taking down a general who's in charge of supplying high-powered firearms will weaken their offense. Going down the food chain doesn't water down difficulty, as even generals can be a challenge. That's where leveling your agent comes into play. Collecting orbs scattered across Pacific City increases your stats, not just in numeric values, but in physical appearance too. Killing enemies drop orbs. The more you collect, the higher you jump, faster you run, harder you hit and throw. Yeah, you'll eventually be able to pick up a frickin' truck and throw it across the streets mid-air. It's freaking awesome. Many probably remember Crackdown for being that free game bundled with the Halo 3 beta. Not me. Let's talk about a mainstream Xbox title. The original Gears of War released on November 7th, 2006. I remember that day fondly. It was Emergence Day. Same day my dad dragged me out of my room to vote for the House of Representatives? Yeah, I went to that booth and just started pulling random levers just to hurry home and chainsaw some more locusts. Never will I forget experience my first online match. It was in Fuel Depot. The crunchy sound effects from exploding body parts made me realize how next gen this was. And it was clear from hearing everyone on the mic. There was a lot of first-time Xbox owners online that day. Gears of War was the reason to go out and buy an Xbox 360, a true system seller. Luckily, I had already owned one, but before release, Gears already stood out. From the moment G4 TV aired their E3 05 coverage, Gears of War showed a lot of promise, and it delivered, selling millions, topping the Xbox Live most played games chart. Even with its success, over time, some stuff did become annoying, primarily going against a host, but everyone knew a sequel was in the works. Will these issues be corrected? November 2008, we found out.
So here I am at Best Buy for the Gears of War launch night.
As you know, the Locusts are back. They're kicking up humanity's ass as they always do.
Gears of War 2 was a bigger game. Story campaign and multiplayer options were cranked to 11. Story has players heading straight into enemy territory, inside a giant worm creature and facing new enemy types. Gears 2 feels short because how much fun it is. The pacing is great. But I'll be honest with you, multiplayer is why Gears 2 is on this list and not 1 or 3. Probably my most played multiplayer game aside Halo 1 or 2. Multiplayer saw an increased player count. 4v4 skirmishes evolved to 5v5 chaos. You think 4v4 was hard enough to manage mid-battle, but adding 2 more players felt natural. It was the perfect number. Power weapons return, with new weapons like the flamethrower being pretty freaking awesome. But heavy weapons have a high priority in a match. Motors or chain guns can potentially unleash hell even in the hands of a noob. You don't want an opposing team cleaning the streets with either heavy, so defending them is a must. I thought chainsaw duos would be a gimmick at first, but even after hundreds of hours, they were quite common in battle. Picking up a downed enemy and using them as a shield never got old either. Gears 2 has tons of new features. Sadly, the online is broken. Damn, I never played a game with so much lag, cheaters, and glitches. After the honeymoon was over, it was clear you wanted to keep playing and stand a chance, or even have fun, you had to become one of them. Yup, I became a cheater. I got zone alarms ready with crossover cable setups on my laptop. Anyone who was cheating got booted out immediately by me, resulting in the game thinking that they quit, and we got the victory. Let's not forget the shield glitch. Going through the wall and being able to use a shield equipped with any weapon such as the boomshot or Nasher was hell on Sarah. Man, the online was busted. Lag was way worse than the original. So how is Gears 2 my favorite entry? The time I had with friends. I guess friends can make any game fun, but the amount of time we spent playing this will never escape me. Gears 3 was a better game, but unfortunately, I didn't really play much of its multiplayer. What's your favorite Gears? Xbox Live had some of the best downloadable titles. Steam may be the king of the digital marketplace, but it started for me on 360, with Smash TV being my first purchase. But the real standout moment was when I saw ads for Street Fighter 2 Hyper Fighting, promising online play. I looked at my wallet and it had tears running down its leather face. Boy did it snowball. Geometry Wars, TMNT Arcade, Russian Attack, Alien Hominid, Heavy Weapon, Assault Heroes, all wonderful games that didn't break the bank, individually anyway. But it wasn't until Microsoft launched the Summer of Arcade in 2008 that everything went down. A lineup of games promoted by Microsoft as hot new must-have titles. It was during 2009 Summer of Arcade lineup that Shadow Complex was released. Holy crap. In short, Shadow Complex is Super Metroid, well in design anyway. It's a 2.5D Metroidvania action adventure inside a facility where your chick is imprisoned and your goal is to rescue her. Initially equipped with just a firearm, eventually you'll suit up to an upgradable top secret government power armor. Finding additional armor pieces will unlock superhuman strength that will send enemies flying when struck, Mach speed which is used to get across large bodies of water, or zip past entire screens. Not to mention other weapons and skills that can be found across this conspiracy theory-like complex. Discovering areas can lead to many cool rewards. You never feel like time is wasted. Going back to that Super Metroid comparison I made, it's literally a modern day version. I have a friend who loves Super Metroid, and for good reason. What keeps Shadow Complex from being just a ripoff then? More of a homage than a clone, it's clear these developers are massive fans that wanted to capture Metroid's level of progress. Gameplay is front and center. Cinematic set pieces do exist, such as mounting turrets to clear a room, shifting to a third-person shooter camera. It feels natural thanks to the dual analog controls, allowing players to aim with precision. Enemies in the background or high ground can be picked off with the proper aim. Most importantly is the fun factor. Isn't that why we all play games? To me, this is a prime example of how to blend modern day and retro gaming mechanics. The best Xbox 360 JRPG. Alright, I know what you're saying. Lost Odyssey is the best Xbox 360 JRPG. Well, you're wrong. I'll add more wood to this fire. Vesperia is also the best Tales game. Sorry Berseria, Graces, and Xillia or Exilia, whatever it's called. You don't stand a chance. I'd say the only Tales games that come close to the greatness of Vesperia are Eternia, Symphonia, and Fantasia. At the time of release, I wasn't really into RPGs like in my past, more specifically JRPGs. Since I was primarily an Xbox 360 gamer, the genre wasn't as healthy as say the PlayStation 1 or 2. Stuff like Lost Odyssey and Blue Dragon was out, but unfortunately, they put me to sleep every time I popped them in. I'm serious, I'm not knocking Blue Dragon or Lost Odyssey. I was working about 11-hour shifts during this time, played at night with the music super low in my bedroom. Yeah, I lived with my parents during that time, and had a small 32-inch HD TV. That's a special formula for catching some Z's, faster than NyQuil. Vesperia though, had me sucked in from its Japanese anime opening. I wasn't sure what to expect when I picked this up at GameStop. Almost 80 hours later, I still think about it till this day. The characters are the best of the series, especially our protagonist, Yuri Lowell, the man with brass balls, who will kill those who don't receive what he considers justice.
The laws and the council may have let you go, but I'm afraid I can't do that.
This is the closest thing to modern classic JRPG. A world map with tons of freedom, cute chibi-like character models, long as heck, and random battles. If you're interested in JRPGs but haven't found the right one to start with, look no further. Combat systems similar to Capcom fighting games, battles are a blast. With each battle, you gain experience to level up, but evolving your moveset requires extended use of abilities, making battles more engaging. Story-wise, it's not the best story in JRPG history. What makes this one great is the cast. The characters are colorful and have such natural chemistry with one another. They feel like your friends, no jokes. The exchange they have are always genuinely well put together.
Maybe we can find out by asking someone who used to live in the town.
That's not really why we're here though, so why should we care?
You actually have a point there.
It's one of those issues that I've had with recent Tales games. Well, outside of the disgusting graphics, the cast looks so generic in some of the later titles, and the character designs are ugh. Just as I mentioned earlier, this is the best JRPG on the 360. If you never played it, you know what to do.
Of noble light, overpower even indestructible.
Shining bomb! Bastard!
the last Halo game to be a masterpiece. And look, it was also Bungie's last entry. How ironic. Halo Reach released in 2010. I remember on my way to pick it up, reflecting back at the days playing Halo 1 and 2 co-op on Legendary and multiplayer matches using X-Link Kai. To think that was nearly 20 years ago. I really wasn't into first-person shooters at the time, but like many, Halo changed that. After many sequels, Halo is still around to this day. I haven't played much of Halo 4 or 5, so I can't judge them fairly, but to me, Halo Reach stands shoulder to shoulder with the best entries of the series.
We're bringing you to us.
In my opinion, Halo Reach is the best shooter on Xbox 360. It has the best co-op experience, best single player journey, and a load of content. I remember popping it in and thinking to myself, damn, these graphics are incredible. It's a huge improvement over Halo 3, but visuals don't make a game, do they? So how did it play compared to previous entries? 2010 was a time where Call of Duty essentially took over the shooter genre. Therefore, changes to the classic Halo formula had to be made. For one, sprinting and jetpacks don't sound very Halo, but work surprisingly well. It took a while for me to get used to armor abilities, but this addition allowed players to strengthen their existing playstyles. Me personally, I always took a stealthy approach during Slayer, always sneaking around and going for the active camouflage. No more hunting for that, as you can now start with it. One of my friends chose the sprint ability, allowing him to cover ground quickly, and another friend of mine loved the jetpack because he can pick people off from high ground. Takedowns or assassinations are introduced. You remember how if you melee someone from behind, it grants an instant kill? Now by holding the melee, you can add some spice to it. Still, being optional seemed to be the right choice. It had more fun in this multiplayer than Halo 3. I just always preferred 1 and 2. In many ways, Reach reminds me of Combat Evolved. The campaign is awesome. Following the trend of Halo 3, 4 players can jump in and wreak havoc. Thanks to large open areas, battles are fun as ever. Being a prequel to set up the events of Halo Combat Evolved, you get this feeling of dread and hopelessness. I'll leave it there. My favorite moment has to be the amazing space combat. Banshee battles were never boring in Halo, but these space segments take them to an entirely different level. It's a shame not enough are present. If you never played a Halo game, please play this one. If you love Halo and completed Reach, well, go ahead and play it again.
We've got a job to do, so let's stay focused and get it done. 6, are you in position?
Affirmative.
Good. Execute.
Before I end this, I want to say a few things. Thank you to everyone who took time out of their day to watch this video. You won't believe me, but I've been working on this for over a year. I lost count. Sadly, I took an unreal amount of breaks. My mental state just consumed most, if not all, motivation in finishing this. After initially announcing this video, all I wanted to do was finish it. Yet, due to being in such a dark place, I simply couldn't no matter how hard I tried. One weekend though, I woke up, turned on my computer, saw this incomplete project sitting on my desktop, and I told myself that I had to finish it. It was almost like a shed of light that shined on me. I felt like finishing it would somehow help me move forward. I know, sounds a little ridiculous. To think that finishing a countdown video would mean something other than any typical countdown video? I don't know. I can't say after pushing through all this editing if it does hold any more weight, but either way, I'm just happy that I got to finish it. I don't know. I guess it's more like a personal thing, right? I don't know. Well, where do I go from here content creation wise? I have a few ideas. Don't want to share anything. Don't want to leave you waiting for another year or two. But again, thank you. If you truly enjoyed this video, share it with anyone that might feel the same way. Later, guys.